Hello everybody and welcome to Awareness Day 9. So today I wanted to talk about connections, and do you want to know the best way to connect with other people? So we've been in confinement for about 8 weeks, 9 weeks, I don't know, at least in the UK anyway, that's what I'm talking about. And I can tell you that one of the big problems I know outside the obvious about the situation, about people losing their businesses or, all that horrendous side of what is happening right now. But one of the difficulties that people have been having, and I know that because there was an incident anyway in the neighborhood, and someone told us that at the moment the police has had to deal so much with relationship problems, and that is one of the biggest problems that people have had to deal with during these few weeks of lockdown. I'm not going to talk about some of the horrendous problems like the abuse that's been going on. Because of being confined, we've had lots of problems of people having to stay at home when it's been so difficult. But one thing that I wanted to talk to you about in general was about connecting with other people. And of course, as I say, during lockdown, that is even more obvious, isn't it, to how we connect with people around us, people we live with. It's so much more obvious to us because we haven't been able to escape. We have not been at work and only spend some time in the evening, whatever people whatever difficulties people have had around that, and they've been able to escape, now it's a lot more obvious. But if we take this to a different place on how we connect in general with people, so how we connect in general with people, how can we connect even better? I mean, now basically when we're going to go back, and I'm not going to say even we're going back to normal, because it doesn't mean anything really right now. But when we're going to then go back to connect with other people at work, with other, with friends again, and members of our family or whoever you're going to connect with, we have had time to start to think about many areas of how we connect with people. And I'm sure that we want to improve that, or maybe we've had to think about it, and maybe we've realized that in some instances we don't really want to connect with some people anymore. But it doesn't matter if you want to come away from some people, that's fine. But how do we connect better with other people? How are we going to make new friends? How are we now going to attract those people we really want in our life? So how do we do that? And maybe it's not something you even think about right now. But what I say is that the reflection, the way you connect with other people, the relationships you have with other people, is a big reflection of how you connect with yourself, how you feel about yourself. I have a big program on the laws of relationships, and that is the loving way to look at relationships. It's not a program where, who is right and who is wrong. It's not like that at all, right? Because it's not about who is right, who is wrong. How am I going to convince this person? How am I going to get these people to see, to get me, to see my point of view all the time? It's not like that. It's the loving way to leave relationships. And so one of the best ways to connect with other people is to understand, firstly, the relationship with yourself. Yes, I know. It's something, when I talk about the relationship with yourself, some people, they have no idea what I'm really saying. And I know in some instances, my whole mission, my whole program, my work is about love, is about self-love. And it's not about self-love the narcissist way, anything like that. I explained that in depth, but what really that means, as I say all the time, it's not just about self-care. That's just a tiny part of it. And so that's the relationship with yourself. And some people don't really understand what I mean by that. But that, if you think about how you connect with other people, we always look at how they make us feel. Oh, I like this person because of the way I feel when I'm around them, especially when you talk about boyfriend or girlfriend. I love the way, I love who I am when I'm with you. And when people say that, well, how do you love yourself when you are with yourself? How do we, relate to others if we really had a mirror looking at how we are with other people? Really, it reflects a lot how we feel about ourselves, our insecurities, our self-doubt, so many things, and we don't even realize what is happening. So one story I'd like to tell you, because I know when we live with narcissist people, it's very different, and it is. I can't go in depth here, but it is. And I know that. I've grown up. I mean, I still have my mother in my life, and she has NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. It's so different when you live with somebody like that, when you grow up with somebody like that. It's just so different from many other parents. One thing that happened to me is that I was terrified. I mean, I was terrified of my mother and what her reactions, because it's sudden from one second to another. Narcissistic people in that extreme, they change their mood just like that, and you don't know what you've done, and suddenly it's the shouting, it's the accusing you, and I grew up like that. One thing I realized from that, and again I'm talking about awareness, because when I say I realized that a long time, so many years later, when I started doing my healing journey, I knew I was scared of women. I knew that. I sort of knew in the back of my head. It's not something that I used to say, I'm scared of women. But what I realized is that women in authority really scared me. And that's why I allowed some outside my mother, as well as my mother, to bully me. Especially if I regarded them as this authority figure. That was horrible. So I would have a boss, for instance, as a woman, and I wasn't myself. I tried so many different ways of being me. It scared me so much. So the relationship I had every time when there was this woman I saw with authority was a horrible relationship. It really was awful. I tried to work so hard on those relationships. I tried to be really nice. I tried to comply to so many things. I tried to be accepted. I tried to fit in, to belong somewhere, to do whatever I could. I mean, honestly, it came from fear. That was the problem. It came from fear. no matter what I tried, it never worked. I never had a good relationship with those women. They either, bullied me, they didn't like me. I mean, I just didn't know what to do. I just didn't know what to do. I tried so many things. I read about it, how to have really good relationships, and nothing worked. I was just so tired. There were so many, like key people in my life who were these women, and it just never worked. Until I realized through the therapy, so my healing teacher, I really had to go really into that. I started working on the relationship with myself. I started understanding me. I started understanding what was going on. So I was bringing quite so many situations, so many issues, and to one day, that awareness, it was just there, so obvious. I had to work on the relationship with myself. That is what I had to do. It didn't matter what I read. It didn't matter what tips I had, what techniques I was using, because ultimately the fear, what was in that subconscious, all that I had lived, and it was still there, so alive. I mean, it was a spiritual thing. It was still there. It could not just disappear. So I had to work on the relationship with myself. And when you think about it spiritually, it's so important to understand, because you've got, again, that ego on one side and you've got love on the other side. And you've allowed ego to speak to you all the time, about these women and what they're going to do, and you're not up to it, and, about the fear, and you bringing all these emotions. I mean, I was bringing all these emotions that I'd had and I was still having around my mother, for instance. So all that fear. And no matter what, I was telling myself, I'm going to be really strong, and I'm going to stand up for that, and I'm going to put my boundaries, and I'm going to do this. But I really had to go deep down to understand what was happening in that relationship with myself in there, because it actually involves so many things. When I talk about the relationship with yourself, it's just not one thing. Just tell yourself you love yourself and that's it, you love yourself. There is a lot more to it than that. But that's where I had to start. Yes, I mean, understand how you are bringing love into any relationship. Understand that. It's so essential, because you cannot do relationships from ego. It just doesn't work. It really doesn't work. I do lots and lots of therapy around relationships and mediation and everything, and it doesn't work if you coming from ego. But when people ask me, and they've tried so many things, this is where we need to go. This is why I work one-to-one with people. They start with themselves before they even carry on with other relationships. And that's how it starts. And for me to be able to then feel that I could let go of that fear, it wasn't about the techniques that I'd learned. That is one part of it. But what I had to do was really go deep into the relationship with myself. That's where the transformation really started. I'm sorry, but I think this broadcast is being interrupted. So I'm really sorry if you've missed something, but this is what I wanted to bring to you today, was that awareness around relationships. Start, if you are stuck somewhere, understand the relationship with yourself first. Anyway, if you want any more around this, please leave me a message. Message me here, on Facebook or wherever you're listening to this, Instagram, Facebook. If not, go to my website, sign up to my weekly e-letters. But get in touch. Send me an email. You've got my email here, and I'll leave it as well. And just ask the questions, put comments, and also if you've liked this, please like it, share it, because maybe, hopefully, it would help somebody. And that's it for today. So if you have any questions, please do not go away and suffer with these relationships. Life is so much more beautiful than what sometimes we're living, in that doubt, the self-doubt, that suffering. It can be so much more fulfilling. So please, if you need any help, reach out. This is why I'm doing these awareness days. So I hope this has helped you. And I'll be back tomorrow with something else. So I hope to see you then. But until then, have a lovely evening. And I am sending you lots and lots of love.